Good afternoon, everybody. I am Ana Carrero, and I'm very happy and pleased to be here with you to host and moderate our high-level live discussion on how apprenticeships can be used as an instrument to support Ukrainians, both in the EU and in Ukraine. We have all witnessed for the past 10 months how the Russian aggression to Ukraine has prompted Ukrainians to flee to other countries. Some of them, many of them, have settled in the EU. And in the EU, we have tried to support them and welcome them with basic assistance and by facilitating access to education and training systems and to the job market. But we are very much aware of the difficulties and the challenges. We are talking about language barriers. We are talking about issues of discrimination, difficulties in recognizing skills and qualifications, and also sometimes lack of targeted assistance to enter the labor market. So we will have the occasion to talk about all this during our session today. Um, but one of the reasons why we have organized this live discussion is, on the one hand, to encourage our EAFA member community to step up and be supportive of Ukrainian people in the EU by offering them more and better apprenticeship opportunities. And on the other hand, we want to raise awareness on how apprenticeships can be a key tool to support Ukrainian people, not only in the EU, but also when they go back to their country. Apprenticeships can be the continuation of their learning pathway here in the EU. They can also offer opportunities to embark on new learning opportunities in vocational education and training, and be also an element of stability, connection with the community, and also help them rebuild their country once they are back. And to discuss about all these things, we have a great panel today, high political and policy leaders, together with apprentices from Ukraine and their trainers in Germany, will be here with us today. And before we start with the discussion, I would like to turn to our audience to encourage them to be active and ask as many questions as they want through the chat. We will try to address them during the discussion. And if not, we will get back to them in the Q&A session by the end of our discussion. And without further delay, I will present the first speaker, who is our Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, Nicolas Schmidt, who will provide the broader picture.
Dear members of the European Alliance for Apprenticeships, dear friends, as a consequence of Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine, 8 million people have been displaced, with almost 6 million of them outside the borders of Ukraine, many in the European Union. The EU has responded rapidly, providing those fleeing the war shelter, as well as access to education, employment, healthcare, and social protection. Beyond providing immediate emergency protection, the EU is committed to helping Ukraine and its people to rebuild. This is what brings us together today, because the future of Ukraine starts with education. I don't have to explain to you how much apprenticeships can play an essential role in educating young people. They are a key tool to learn on the job, and employment prospects afterwards are excellent. Also for companies, apprenticeships are instrumental. They train young people in the skills needed in their particular industry. So apprenticeships are an excellent pathway for refugees to find their way into the labor market. But there remain challenges. For example, the recognition of skills and formal qualifications, language barriers, and the limited offer of apprenticeship opportunities. We have taken important steps to support member states in this. For instance, we have created tools to overcome the language barrier when it comes to recognizing skills, and we have recommended to EU member states to ensure fast, flexible, and efficient recognition of qualifications. We have launched a platform, the Talent Pool, where refugees can showcase their talent and be found by employers across the EU. We have changed the rules so that member states can use EU funds in very flexible and unbureaucratic ways to support the refugees, including for education and training. I know also of many great initiatives that companies, social partners, and member states' authorities are undertaking. Let's not stop here. Let's step up our efforts. This is why I'm reaching out to all 400 members of our alliance. Over the years, you have already provided more than 1 million quality and effective apprenticeship places for young Europeans. This is a great testimony to the value the alliance has. In the face of the crisis, I would like to personally encourage you to make new pledges for more apprenticeships places for young people in the EU, and especially for people who have fled the war. I also take this opportunity to encourage more companies to join the alliance and make their first pledge, offering apprenticeship to those who need it the most. It is truly the best investment you can make. As President von der Leyen said in her State of the Union address, we need effective investments in skills of our people to ensure Europe's future competitiveness. That's why she has announced that 2023 will be the European Year of Skills. Let's take action already this year by giving new opportunities to young people to strengthen their skills. Skills that will be essential for the reconstruction of Ukraine and for ensuring a socially fair, digital, and green transition in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Schmidt, for your encouraging words and your support and for giving us the overall picture and the tools that we have made available to facilitate the task. Indeed, we encourage all the apprenticeship community, not only EAFA members, but also potential new EAFA members to take action and provide more apprenticeship opportunities to the people fleeing from Ukraine. So Commissioner Schmidt has mentioned some useful tools to have in mind that the EU has made available to help with language barriers, job research like talent pool or the EU skills profile. But let's not forget about EU funding, notably the European Social Fund, that can be of help to member states to fund education and training opportunities for Ukrainians, including apprenticeships. So now we will turn to Anatoly Garmash, our following speaker from the European Training Foundation. He's a senior expert in qualification systems with a specific experience on the Ukrainian system. So he will frame the topic before we get to our other speakers and participants in the live discussion. Anatoly, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, I have prepared a small presentation. Thank you. Indeed, as we will discuss today, Ukrainians fleeing the war are facing a number of challenges. Challenges common to most migrants coming to the EU, such as was mentioned, financial difficulties, language barrier, difficulties in recognizing their skills and qualifications. And apprenticeships are seen as the efficient way to support social economic integration of migrants. Next. Indeed, the apprenticeship helps to connect the labor market as quickly as possible, and many Ukrainians would prioritize early employment, would prioritize to find paid work quickly. And they may see apprenticeships as an easy way to enter the labor market and to have an income as quickly as possible. Apprenticeship can make easier access to formal education and training that lead to a recognized qualification. When it is part of the formal education and training program, it can help bridge the gaps in skills to access quality employment. That is, apprenticeship can help Ukrainians to find jobs that correspond to their level of skills. And alongside vocational training, apprenticeship can offer language training in real-world situations, as well as it can offer significant new opportunities for social interaction. But however, what is different for Ukrainians, and they're mostly not refugees or asylum seekers, this is uncertainty about duration of their stay in host countries. Most Ukrainians coming to the EU would like to come back to Ukraine as soon as the situation in Ukraine allows. And next, please. And this uncertainty about duration of stay requires a different short-term strategy to support Ukrainians through apprenticeships. First of all, we need to think how to shorten the duration of training. It's no use investing in lengthy apprenticeship programs when apprentices do not intend to stay. Flexible and short-term solutions are needed. It is important to address cost-benefit concerns of employers. Employers will have little incentive to offer apprenticeship programs without returns on investment. And thus, apprenticeship would need to address short-term goals to satisfy immediate, urgent needs of employers. This will also mean to focus on bridging the gaps in skills rather than on a full program acquisition, and to support recognition of prior learning, including to allow matching skills assessment with upskilling and reskilling opportunities, or to get exemption for parts of education and training in the program. We also need to think how to support recognition of company-specific apprenticeships, those that are not part of formal education and training program. And this will give value to and make visible specific knowledge, skills, and competence that are required in individual companies, including small and medium enterprises. So how can we better support Ukrainians through apprenticeships? This may require innovative solutions. And here, micro-credentials can be part of this solution. European Union promotes the use of micro-credentials for both lifelong learning and employability, and the European approach to micro-credentials defines the key characteristics. Micro-credential is the record of learning outcomes that represent a small volume of learning. The other key characteristics are assessment, focus on specific skills and competencies, relevance, stackability, and quality assurance. And there is a big potential of the use of micro-credentials, including in apprenticeships programs. The benefits of micro-credentials come from immediate relevance to the labor market demand. Micro-credentials are designed to address a specific work need, and thus they can support labor market integration of refugees. They can facilitate recognition of individual skills, knowledge, and competencies, and micro-credentials can make them visible regardless of how they were acquired. Micro-credentials can support individualized learning pathways, helping to improve access to formal education and training, or to better matching with upskilling or reskilling opportunities, and they can also facilitate the design of flexible training. Micro-credentials can allow for combination of formal education and training programs and company-specific apprenticeships. They can also facilitate flexible modular approaches. And micro-credentials They're cost and time saving. They aim at a short-term skills development, and less efforts to their design and acquisition are needed. Next. And finally, how can Ukrainian apprentices use their skills when they return to Ukraine? We may say that apprenticeships addressing skills and occupations in demand in host countries will also contribute to reconstruction of Ukraine. Participating in apprenticeships in EU countries, Ukrainians get experience that will not only support their labor market integration in host countries, but also it will help them to meet the needs of the Ukrainian labor market. That is, to meet skills losses during the war and the needs of reconstruction. At the same time, Ukraine will need to support the reintegration of refugees to its vet system and labor market. And for this, it will need to support recognition and validation of skills acquired by Ukrainians during their stay in the EU countries. It will need to offer flexible and more inclusive vet provision, such as modular programs and short courses focused on specific skills. Yet we may say that prior to Russia's invasion, Ukraine was in the process of strengthening its vocational education system, including through the introduction of dual education and training programs, supporting curricular reform, introduction of partial qualification, and by developing professional qualification system. I just mentioned here two ongoing projects that support that system in Ukraine. These are EU for Skills program that supports curricular reform and delivery of short courses, and the ETF initiative Ukraine Re-Emergency, e-learning and skills development to rebuild Ukraine that supports developing micro-credentials based on experiences in the EU countries and focusing at this stage on three priority areas: energy efficiency, construction and restoration, and green energy. Next. And some final remarks. Responding to challenges in supporting integration of Ukrainians through apprenticeship is mutually beneficial. If migrants choose to stay, then their skills will be beneficial to the host country. At the same time, skills that they gain through apprenticeship are likely to help in reconstruction of Ukraine. Combination of different tools is important. Apprenticeship needs to be supported with language training, skills assessment, recognition of prior learning arrangements, targeted learning assistance, employer support and engagement, and career guidance. The use of micro-credentials is beneficial. It will help adapting of apprenticeship programs to individual needs of apprentices and to individual needs of companies, or help removing barriers for access to formal education and training. And finally, we may say that by supporting Ukrainian refugees through apprenticeships, vet systems in host countries will become more inclusive not only for migrants, but also for disadvantaged groups at large. Thank you for your attention. Back to Anna.
A presentation. You gave us some interesting insights, particularly on micro-credentials, on how micro-credentials can be a key tool, not only here in the EU to welcome these people coming from Ukraine and trying to make the most of their skills and cover the gaps to address also our shortages, but also when they get back to the country to help rebuild the country and also to get recognition of the skills acquired. So good that we are aligned and we are trying to encourage the same policies. So now I would like to welcome our panelists. As I told you, we have a very interesting and important panelist with us here today. I will start with Irina Shumik, who is Director General of the Directorate of Vocational Education in the Ministry of Education and Science in Ukraine. So welcome, Irina. She's a certified trainer and an economist by background, and she has been working in education policies since 2013. I would also like to welcome Anie Kudarauskiene, Vice Minister of Education, Science and Sports in Lithuania, responsible for vocational training and adult education policymaking. So Anie has experience also from the Confederation of Lithuanian Industrialists, where she was an expert responsible for the improvement of BED. And finally, we have Ukrainian apprentices, Alexandra, Sasha, Telna, and Svitlana Doholpolova, and their trainer, Eldin Katovic, at Bildungszentrum Handwerk Duisburg in Germany. So Alexandra has recently finished her work placement in a restaurant, and Svitlana has kindly agreed to translate for Sasha, and she's still enrolled in her apprenticeship. So we will hear from both, together with the trainer Eldin, to see how were their experiences as apprentices. So, if you allow me, we will begin with the situation in Ukraine and start with Irina. So, Irina, we all watch the news every day with a lot of concern, and it is extremely difficult to picture how your day to day looks like. So, I think it would be very interesting to our audience and to myself as well if you could let us know what are the current conditions you operate in, and what is the apprenticeship system in Ukraine like? So, Irina, the floor is yours.
I hope that you can.
We can.
Now because we
I think the sound could be a bit unstable. Can you try again, Irina? I know that you may face some difficulties in terms of internet connection. So, maybe if the connection doesn't work, maybe we can turn to Anye, and then we will get back to Irina when she's ready. So as I was telling you, Anye is a Vice Minister of Education, Science and Sport in Lithuania, and she will be able to tell us more about how Ukrainians can be supported with the experience that she has in her country. So we would be grateful if you could let us know a little bit more about the Lithuanian experience, how you have been supporting Ukrainian in integrating them in the education and training programs, and more in particular apprenticeships. Thanks, Anya.
Thank you very much, Anna, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very proud to be a part of this event, actually, which I find very important. And Lithuania is the country that, since the beginning of the war, has made great efforts both by the government authorities and public initiatives to help the war refugees and always to suffer as little as possible from the consequences of the war. And I think we would all agree that education is the field that helps both children and adults to stay connected to their normal lives. And Lithuania is one of the 9 countries that successfully helped more than half of the children and young people to integrate into education from those that arrived to Lithuania. As of today, we have welcomed more than 68,000 war refugees from Ukraine, from which around 25,000 are children or of school age. And according to data, over 13,000 of them participate in education. Of course, we try to reach every family and every child, and we want to them to be able to get the proper education in the time that they spend here in Lithuania. So we implemented the one-stop shop, personal registration of students registry check, so that everyone who cares about support for Ukrainians helps ensure that children are registered in schools. So volunteers of the food bank, the Red Cross, or other NGOs, as well as municipal social support departments, they are all able to use this access online. So regarding education in general, children learn in Lithuanian or national minority schools. Of course, we provide all the possibilities and opportunities to learn remotely in schools approved by the Ukrainian state, or in Ukrainian schools that have received permissions from the ministry to teach according to the Ukrainian curriculum. For now, we have 4 such schools in Lithuania, and it is likely that the number will increase. I think it is important to mention that an individual education plan tailored to the student's strengths and needs is drawn up for each learner from Ukraine. So first of all, of course, the arriving student is given an adaptation period to, of course, overcome the stress of war, the change of location. And this period is of various duration, and it can be adjusted during the academic year. All students who come from Ukraine and are registered in Lithuanian schools must learn the Lithuanian language to different extents and paces according to the language proficiency levels. And also all of them who study both in Lithuanian schools and in distance schools in Ukraine receive the same social support as other children living in Lithuania, like free school meals, as well as support for the purchase of the pupils' needs according to the family income. And of course, today we speak more about vocational training and apprenticeship, so I just want to turn to this topic. So as for vocational training, we would like it to be more popular among young and adult Ukrainians, and we give all the opportunities to learn a profession in order to help them to integrate to society and, of course, labor market as quickly as possible. But currently we have just near 300 students in state vet schools. Of course, we created all conditions for them to continue their professional education. If, for example, they were learning in vet schools in Ukraine before coming to Lithuania, or to start in a new vocational training program from the new academic year, and to acquire the qualification that will help them enter the labor market as soon as possible, and of course use their skills. So Ukrainians can apply to vocational training institutions with a request to whether continue their education under specific vet program if they study it in Ukraine. So what do? We assess their competences and educational achievements so that they are accepted to study in the most suitable professional training and vocational training program and course. Also, the integration of students from Ukraine is promoted by including them in already previously formed vet training groups. For the new academic year that started in September, Ukrainians that wish to study at vocational training institutions are able to participate in the general admission that is mostly held in summer, but also continues during all academic year. And of course, we have the entry criteria. I think that all vet systems has these entrance criteria. So, for example, if a person does not have documents that provide us with information about his education, so we also apply this process to assess his competences, his educational achievements, so that they could start immediately with their training. And the topic of today's discussion is apprenticeships, and we have some good experience in Lithuania. For example, one of our largest manufacturing companies, Intersurgical, which in cooperation with one of our strongest vocational schools in Visaginas, accepted Ukrainians as apprentices to study and work in the plastic molding machine adjuster vet training program. So of course, we don't have many examples, but we cherish every good example and we want to show it so that other companies, other vet schools recognize the benefit. But of course, in general, I would say in Lithuania, this form of education has not yet reached the popularity that we want because, small and medium-sized companies predominate in Lithuania as in all of Europe. So perhaps it is still difficult for them to participate in this form of training, to take on the administrative responsibility. And at the same time, in Lithuania, we have a very wide network of modern sectoral practical training centers. We have 42 centers, like in wood sector, in mechatronics sector, the beauty sector. So, the young people who, or adult people who, enter vocational training, they are able to learn in the conditions of real workplaces in those sectoral training centers. But of course, apprenticeships with employers offer other benefits such as increased employment opportunities and of course a salary. So in order to promote the culture of apprenticeship in Lithuania, to help the education sector and employers to better prepare for the twin transition, we will implement a significant promotion program with the support of the EU Recovery and Resilience Facility. So I think everyone knows, but maybe I will just mention that this facility is a temporary recovery instrument that allows the Commission to raise funds to help member states implement reforms and investments that are in line with the EU's priorities, that helps to address the challenges identified in country-specific recommendations. So we have one component in this recovery and resilience plan that is oriented to quality and accessible education for the entire life cycle. And special attention will be paid to the promotion of apprenticeships in small and medium-sized enterprises, with 70% of all supported apprentices and at least 40% of programs in the form of apprenticeship will focus on developing digital competences. So we believe that this reform will change, it will begin at the end of this year, will have the positive impact on the inclusion of Ukrainians in this form of education and in vocational training in general. So this is my first comments on this topic.
Thanks a lot, Anye, for this overview. I think it's very interesting what you are doing in terms of vet promotion and apprenticeship promotion, and happy to hear that the EU funds are supporting you in this way. And I get from your experience that in order to be a successful integration in the education and training system, you need a targeted approach with support, and so it is a successful integration. But we will get back to you later. In the meantime, I think Irina is ready. I don't know if she will be able to put her camera on, but the most important thing is that we will be able to hear her. So Irina, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. A lot of rocket attack. Big problems. A problem with the No?
We can hear you, but just from time to time.
Yes, I will try to put my mobile internet connection. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, we will wait for you. I think in the meantime, while you set it up, we will get to the apprentices, and we will listen to your intervention later. No worries about that. So now I'm turning to the apprentices themselves to listen to their experiences. So first, I would like to speak to Eldin to see if you could tell us a bit more about your experience so far in the apprenticeship program that you participated.
Well, thank you for having us in this event and to have the chance to talk about our experience. As you said, I work in Bildungszentrum Handwerk in Duisburg as a teacher for German language, as a trainer. We offer here retraining for people in different craftsmanships like electrician, painter, mechanical worker, metal worker, and so on. And as part of that, we also have programs for people with migration background, so people who fled like from the Middle East. We offer them also a chance to make the first steps in some craftsmanship, and they learn the language they need for the work. As part of that, we felt obliged through a colleague of us who's also Ukrainian that we should help the people who come to Germany to offer to them also this program to make their first steps to learn the language foremost and to get some knowledge about the work in Germany, what they can expect, what they will face here. We had 10 Ukrainians in March. They participated in this project. First of all, they had German language. They made the first steps with the language because they didn't know German. After a while, they choose one of those fields like hairdresser, sales, and cook. And they had also training in those fields. And as a part of that training, one was Sasha. She after she finished this course, she had 2 weeks of work in a restaurant, and she could show what she learned here and also refine her German language. So that's what our project is here. Now, now we don't only have Svetlana because in Germany is right now the order that people from Ukraine just need to participate in the integration course to learn the language, and after that to maybe try some work when they have better knowledge of the language.
Okay, and how did you start working with migrants? Did it came naturally?
You mean with the Ukrainians or this project?
Both, both in general and then with Ukrainians.
In general, we had this project running like for 4 years now because we saw that there is a need in Germany for people with handwerk, so with craftsman knowledge, but they lacked, let's say, the language for that, or even the first knowledge of the work in Germany. So we needed to educate them and to show them how it's going in Germany. What can they expect in the future? A colleague of us, as I said, is Ukrainian, and through social media, she contacted those people and offered them a chance to participate in that, to do something that because she told us the stories, what's going on in Ukraine, and we were shocked. And my boss felt obliged to help them, to offer them something in Germany, so they feel more comfortable in this new situation, in this new city, or in this new land in general.
Good. Thanks a lot for all these explanations. So now let's see what our apprentices want to share with us about their experience.
Саша.
Всем привет, меня зовут Александра, мне 18 лет, и я приехала с Украины, город Харьков.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexandra. I am 18 years old. I have come from Ukraine. I lived in Kharkiv.
Училась в колледже на профессию повар-кондитер.
I attended a college in the specialization of pastry cook.
Моя семья состоит из мамы, 2 сестер и меня. Я самая старшая в семье.
My family consists of my mother, my 2 sisters and me. I'm the eldest sister in my family.
Также я занималась музыкальным искусством в школьное время, ходила на кружки скаутов.
Also, I attended a musical school when I was in school, and I had a hobby club. I attended Scout Club.
В прошлом году выиграла городскую награду «Молода людина року».
Last year, I got a city award, a young person of the city.
За свои музыкальные и волонтерские таланты.
I got this award for my musical and volunteer talents.
Моя семья, мама, 2 младшие сестры и я ехали с Харькова на эвакуационном поезде до Львова.
My mother, my 2 sisters and me, we had a trip from Kharkiv to Lviv on evacuational train.
Оттуда в Польшу к знакомым, где после 10 дней пребывания нашу семью забрал родственник в Германию.
And then we moved from Lviv to Poland to our friend's house, where we stayed 10 days, and then our relatives brought us from Poland to Germany.
Почему Германия? Это страна, которая предоставляет большую помощь для беженцев из разных стран.
Why Germany? This country provides a great help to refugees from various countries.
Приехав уже в страну, нас поселили в больницу, которую переделали в жилье для украинцев.
Having arrived to the country, we were placed in a hospital converted to a housing for Ukrainian refugees.
И там нам предоставили всю помощь и информацию касательно документов, регистрации и проживания в Германии.
There we got all the necessary help and information regarding our documents, registrations, and residence in Germany.
Предоставили денежную выплату до конца месяца, на которую жила моя семья.
We were provided also with the cash payments till the end of the month on which our family lived.
Также выдали предметы личной гигиены на первое время, кормили обычной больничной едой 3 раза в день.
At the beginning, we also get some personal hygienic items, and we got food in hospital 3 times a day.
Благодаря моему дяде я попала на обучение в Hamburg-Duisburg.
Thanks to my uncle, I was lucky to start my study and handwork Duisburg School.
В этом заведении предоставляли курсы А1 для беженцев с Украины.
This educational institution provided A1 level language courses for Ukrainian refugees.
Обучение проходило очень хорошо, вся информация была понятна и доступна.
The training went very well, and all information was easy for understanding and was clear.
Преподаватели были очень позитивные, доброжелательные.
The teachers were very kind and friendly.
Заведение всячески помогало мне со всеми проблемами: бесплатный проезд, питание, вопросы с документами, бесплатные учебники для обучения.
The educational institution helped me very much in all required issues. For example, free trips, meals, issues with documents, free textbooks for study.
Также моей группе предоставили возможность пройти курсы профессий, такие как повар, парикмахер, продавец и косметолог.
Also, my group got an opportunity to take a course in different professions, such as a cook, a hairdresser, a shop assistant, and a cosmetologist.
Я выбрала направление повара.
I've chosen a profession cook.
На курсах я хорошо повысила свои знания немецкого языка и навыки готовки.
During the course, I have sufficiently improved my knowledge of German language and my cooking skills.
Коллектив и шеф очень дружелюбные и общительные.
The team and my chef were very kindly and easygoing.
После окончания курсов у меня были 2 недели практики в ресторане моего города, где я узнала систему работы в этой стране.
Having completed the course, I had 2 weeks of practice in a restaurant of my city, where I learned a system of work in this country.
Не могу сказать, что узнала много нового, так как ранее имела опыт работы в сфере готовки в Украине.
I can't say that I learned too much because I have already had an experience of working in food industry and cooking industry in Ukraine before.
Но благодаря этому опыту повысила навыки владения языком и наладила контакты с сотрудниками.
But thanks to this experience, I sufficiently improved my language skills and established new contacts with new colleagues.
Мне очень понравилось, что в моем учебном заведении предоставляют возможность практики по профессии.
I really like that thing that this educational institution provides a possibility to do practical training in such professions.
Many thanks, Tasha, for this inspiring story and all your courage that it took to come from Ukraine to Germany and learn the language and get stability. Thanks a lot for sharing and for being here with us today wholeheartedly. I don't know if Svetlana would like also to share. And by the way, thanks a lot for the translation.
Welcome. I have also came here during the war, when the war started. In Ukraine, I worked in Kyiv. It's the capital of Ukraine, and now I'm in Duisburg. I came here on an evacuational train also to Poland. Then from Poland, I came here to Duisburg, where was a refugee camp. Then on my Deutsch course for integration, I found out information from one of our students that there is such schools for professions in Germany. And I found out some information about professions and choose the profession of a hairdresser. And now I'm here. So thank you for inviting us with Alexandra to this meeting.
And so far, how has the experience been? Satisfactory? Do you feel welcome? Do you feel it has helped with your integration in the country?
Yes, the Germany makes a huge help to Ukrainian refugees here. We have integration Deutsch German course for all refugees who live in the city, in the countries, and it really helps us to get some information then using this German language. Even when we started from the very beginning, we starting understand some people and can solve a little bit some our problems which we have here in a new country, because everything is new to us. People don't know the German language, we don't know rules, laws, etc. And this is quite difficult, and we can't get any information for such people as we are here with our language as Ukrainian and Russian, etc. And coming to this school helps us to get some environment with some education and also communication. We learned in German language here, and we got some profession here. And the school is fantastic. They provide everything for people to feel us here comfortable. The school provides, as Alexandra also already said, free tickets for transportation, provides food, provides necessary textbooks, and here we learn on a practical basis. We come to our workshop and we work as we work in our office area. So, and we learn from the scratches a new profession, like we work on a working area, like in restaurant, like in a hairdresser salon, etc. The schools makes a lot for refugees.
I'm happy to hear that, and to understand that support does make a difference, and that this experience has been helpful for you, and at least you will get some knowledge that you will use in the future. So very happy about that. I think that Irina is able to intervene now. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We will get back to you, to Eldin, Sasha, and Svetlana later as well. But please, Irina, let's try again. We are really looking forward to listening to you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you, participants. I am hoping that right now you can hear me and see me well. So for this example, you can understand how that's hard right now to work in Ukraine, actually, to study in Ukraine. And last several weeks, we have a lot of missiles attacks at our electro station and our connection station, and we have a lot of problem with this, and that's not easy to provide good quality actually for education and work right now. I am I want to express big gratitude to all European countries and other countries which are supported right now our citizens and help them to find their place in safe place, and of course tries to help them how to find their place at labor markets in different countries. That's very important for us to understand that all our citizens is are in good health and have opportunities to live a normal life, because that's not easy right now in Ukraine to guarantee and to keep everything safe. Of course, it's hard maybe to tell about the system of vocational education and of course about work-based learning and apprenticeship in Ukraine. Next slide, please, if it's possible. Before the beginning of the war, we have 685 vocational educational schools in Ukraine. So we have big, very developed network of vocational institutions, and right now, 15 of them are destroyed totally, and more than 100 damaged very much. And that's all only like official numbers, and those numbers that we can receive from our region. And we can understand that's not the final numbers, and in real we have much more. We are proud that we can start this school year with 85% of all vocational schools. So we have like 3 ways of providing educational process. Previous slide, please. I'm sorry, just some general information. We have 3 way, like ordinary way, and that's for western part of Ukraine, when that's possible to organize normal educational process. Of course, we have blended learning for those schools in which we have no big shelters and we cannot provide shelters for every student. So we are trying to have such graphics of educational process in which, for example, one group can study this week and another one next week. And at least we have some practical training, like face-to-face learning, and some which are providing online. And of course, the third one, this distance learning, that's totally and obviously possible only in this way in such regions as Zaporizhia, Mykolaiv, Kherson, Donetsk, Lugansk. So in those regions where we have front line, and when where we understand that it's not possible and very dangerous to provide educational process in ordinary mode. As for work-based learning, because apprenticeship, that's like one of the possibilities for work-based learning in Ukraine. Before the war, we have like four types of such models in vocational education and training system. First of all, that's of course dual education. That's not like classic dual education as in Germany or for example in Austria, but we were trying and we select the best model for Ukrainian system of vocational education, and we are providing a program in our vet school, but in cooperation with employers. And in this curriculum, we have more than 70% of practical training at the enterprises, and only around 30% of theoretical training actually in school. Of course, it was informal, generally apprenticeships at our enterprises, which were provided by employers by themselves, and this direction could be maybe like the most liked for next several years for us during war and after war, because we understand that we have right now some lack of sources and some problems with safety. Third one, this traineeship or in-company pre-graduation internship. So in our ordinary training program, we have two types of practical training. First one is provided by school at their facilities, and the second one, pre-graduation, is provided by employers. And right now, that's also one of the challenges for us, because some employers or some businesses were also displaced or even closed because of the crisis and because of different damages. And the last one, on-the-job training. So we have special regulation for such training. Each enterprise could organize a training, but they need to of course, to receive special license for providing such training. Next slide, please. Key figures about academical year 2021-2022 with dual education. So we have more than 210 schools providing dual education from 600, as I said before, and it was 12,000 students within dual form of VET, and more than 1,300 organizations and employers were involved in this process. But right now, we are finalizing our last monitoring, and we see how it was decreased because of the war and because of different problems and also challenges for businesses, and they have lack of resources and of course lack of personnel to organize such training. Next slide, please. The general information about the role of social partners. So in providing of work-based learning, we are working in very close cooperation with our social partners. I mean, through different non-formal partnerships, like certain projects, or for example, we have some agreements with schools and also enterprises. We organized work of regional VET councils, and VET councils were like a special platform for cooperation between schools and also businesses. And on the professional standards development, we work closely with National Agency of Qualification. Next slide, please. That's just 3 steps that we go through the implementation of the concept of dual form of VET. We have started in 2015 from like some piloting of this system in only 3 schools, but from 2011 we developed the legal framework. After that, we designed standards of dual training models in our schools, and create special clusters and special solutions for schools and also for enterprises. And we hoped to develop this type of work-based learning, but of course, first COVID and after that war actually changed our plans. Next one. And maybe next one. I will not stop about the regulation because we have this legal framework, but if it will be possible, we can share my presentation and you can look to the details. Next one slide, please. We understand that we have a lot of work in this dual education implementation, as providing methodological support for enterprises, prepare and improving different recommendations for development of educational programs, like training programs for such type of education. And of course, we need to organize special study program or training for those personnel who works with students at the enterprises. Next slide, please. Next one. And if we will talk about the main challenges right now of implementation of work-based learning in Ukraine. So first of all, that employees involved as mentors in the training process, they need to be trained within our curriculums and in some pedagogical terms. Of course, we need to provide some instruments on how to motivate business, and we need to, in some cases, divide classes, like one classes between several companies, which requires aligning of the curriculum delivery. And you know, that's also in some cases we have outdated equipment, and we understand for that activities we need. And next slides. What we have right now, we have hostilities in big part of Ukraine. Of course, relocation of many businesses and forced migration of VET students in schools from temporarily occupied territories and the regions. And we understand that that's not possible to organize pre-graduation internship in these regions. But what we see, how possible maybe that's organize and support our vocational education right now in Ukraine. Next slide, please. We find different partners and want to organize, for example, virtual apprenticeship or internships, because we understand that some, not all, but some occupation is possible to organize through this way. For example, agent of tourism, it's possible to organize practice for them in virtual way. Or distantly. That's hard to organize for welder, but that's we can use at least some simulators and some software for also guaranteeing that they will receive practical skills. And of course, we have developed VET online Ukrainian national platform for distance and blended learning, and hope that it also helps to our schools and students how to be successful in obtaining of vocational education. So in general, of course, that's necessary to support our students which were displaced abroad or to another school. And in this situation, we are trying to find with our different partners, ministries of education and science, some agreement in which we can compare our qualification, and if that's possible, like to recognize those apprenticeships or practical training which were provided abroad to our curriculum, and as a result of learning in Ukrainian vocational institutions. Of course, we have no special regulation, but we see that that's possible through these agreements to achieve the main goal that our students will receive good practical training and can receive special documents which will certify their qualification and will help them to go to labor market. I'm so sorry maybe for some problems with presentation, but I hope that you have received general information. Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot, Irina. It was very, very clear, no interruption, very good connection. So thanks a lot for this effort, and we are very happy that we could listen to you in the end, and all the efforts that you are putting into VET and apprenticeships being a priority despite the struggles that you are going through. So you already anticipated the second topic I wanted to discuss with you all, which are the challenges that you are facing. But maybe you want to comment on the challenges that you will face when all these displaced Ukrainians get back to your system, and how you will address this.
Thank you, Anna. We have thought about this, and actually that's good that we have started our reform of vocational education and system of qualification from 2019. So it was also established such agency like National Qualification Agency, and we have started process on developing special regulation for recognition, informal and informal education. And right now, we have this procedure, and we are establishing special qualification centers, which are empowered. In right now, we have like 3 in system of vocational education and more than 10 in the private sector, such centers, which can and actually which are providing right now these procedures of recognition of qualifications. So everyone can go to this qualification center and to pass through the procedure of recognition, to pass the exams like practical training and also theoretical part, and receive special certificate with which will assure their professional. I want to underline that we are talking about professional qualification, so not like the academical rights or educational qualification. So in these cases, this good opportunity for all of our citizens, which, for example, will have special trainings in other countries to return to Ukraine and to go through this procedure and to receive special document about their qualification. And also, we have developed 2 years ago special regulation about how to go through the procedure of recognition of foreign documents of vocational education in Ukraine. So we also have this procedure, and it's also possible, for example, if Alexandra or Svetlana will receive the document of vocational education in Germany, they can go through this procedure and receive Ukrainian analog of these documents. And as as also Anatoly said in the beginning of our meeting, we are very passionate about this possibility to provide micro-credentials, because we see that in the nearest future, for further reconstruction of Ukraine, we will need a lot of labor force, qualified labor force, but of course we have lack of time for this training, and we need to understand which occupations or even which competences will be demanded at the labor market in the nearest future of Ukraine, and focus on these competences or on these partial qualifications. And actually the micro-credentials could be very good way for further training and retraining, of course, Ukrainian people, because we have a lot of eternal displaced persons which left their houses, and they forced to search another work in another region, or to change their specialty. That's very important too.
Okay, thanks a lot. Good that you are already thinking ahead and have the right tools in place to address the upcoming future. So now we turn again to our apprentices to learn a bit more about the challenges that they are facing. If they want to share, of course.
После прибытия в Германию я, как и многие украинцы, столкнулась с такими проблемами, как стресс, языковой барьер, незнание менталитета, законов.
Having arrived to Germany, I, as well as a lot of Ukrainian refugees, have faced such problems as stress, a language barrier, a lack of knowledge of mentality and laws.
Спустя 7 месяцев проживания здесь я более-менее адаптировалась к новой среде.
Over 7 months of staying here, I've more or less adapted to a new environment.
Но большая проблема украинцев, которая осталась по сей день, стресс.
But a big problem for Ukrainians, which still remains today, is stress.
Если была бы возможность в курсах терапии, мы были бы очень признательны, даже если они будут онлайн.
If there is any possibility to have a therapy treatment, we would be very grateful, even if there would be some online therapy treatment for people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many thanks also for the suggestion. That would have been my second question, but you already anticipated, so that's great indeed. It must be very stressful, the situation that you are going through, and therapy definitely would help. So from a welcoming country perspective, Lithuania, what are the challenges ahead, and which measures would you put in place to address those?
Thank you very much. First of all, I enjoyed very much listening to Irina and of course the apprentices, and it gave me some ideas of where we would have to make some amendments also together with the activities that we do now. So first of all, regarding the challenges, I mentioned before that in Lithuania we have quite a small number of people, Ukrainian people, choosing vocational training, because if we have children of a school age, they usually go to gymnasiums without vocational training, even if it would be good for them to have general education together with profession. And also the adult people who usually go straight to the labor market, and it shows that in often the cases that Ukrainians work in unskilled jobs. I mean, they could get, qualification, and they would be able to work if they would choose the apprenticeship form. So I think what we do now is to help the Ukrainians to turn more attention to this area of education, because parents usually decide for children. So we strive to make them to recognize the benefits of vocational training. And of course, we and non-governmental organizations, we aim to make vocational training more popular among the war refugees. Of course, we believe that schools, vocational training schools themselves, must be more flexible, adapting to both the possible language barrier and other needs. So, of course, we support vocational training schools financially, and we really encourage them to attract learners into apprenticeships. Of course, Lithuanians and Ukrainians too. So I already mentioned, and it was mentioned before by the apprentices, is the language barrier. So since the beginning of the time when we had a lot of war refugees from Ukraine, we allocated in total more than 1 million euros that were allocated to help Ukrainians to successfully learn the Lithuanian language after arriving to our country. And some of the funds are intended for higher education schools, other for municipalities. So we have this mixed model, and we have all opportunities for Ukrainians to attend these courses. The aim of these courses are, of course, to give the opportunity to learn the language, but also what was mentioned before, this whole mentality issue. So we also encourage to provide the possibility to get acquainted with Lithuanian culture, with history, economic and social and political life. We think that this is very important. So this support, it aims to help adults acquire the basics of the language, and of course to ensure the successful integration to our country. So what we do to overcome these challenges is we have the extensive information campaign in social media and mass media that promotes apprenticeship, of course, as a very attractive form of education. And of course, as I mentioned before, apprenticeships will not work if all three stakeholders, employers, vocational schools, and students will not work together in this. So therefore, we still have, and will have even greater financial incentive mechanism with the help of the European Commission. And we hope that it will also serve Ukrainians seeking to gain knowledge and employment in Lithuania.
Thanks a lot, Anya, for sharing your experience and the solutions that you envisage and would think are useful to address those. We are running a bit
Anna?
out of time. Yes.
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 Maybe just small comment about the tendency in Ukraine during the war. So we noticed that right now, like vocational education or some vocational qualifications are begin to be popular between adults. So we see why we are talking about micro credentials, because we see that that could be a possibility for further reskilling of adults. Yeah, just one comment. I'm sorry.
Thanks. It's a live discussion, so all comments are welcome, of course, Irina. So I was saying that we are running out of time because you were so passionate and wanted to share so much, and it was really engaging and interesting. So I would like just to ask an additional question, and whoever wants to intervenes, and if you have any other suggestion for policymakers, for the EU, for better providers that you would like to share now, so it gets disseminated and we take good note of it.
Well, I would add something. I think it's a small time frame for 6 or 7 months to learn a language so good that you can participate in an apprenticeship. I think it's more time needed to be much successful. But I think the most important part is what Sasha also told, is the psychological support. I think that is a great lack of support for that, and it's not nothing new. Even the migrants who came 2015, 2016 to Germany, they lacked that support, and now we have another refugee crisis, and still this psychological support, it isn't enough.
Thanks, Eldin. Thanks. We take good note of it. Anybody else? Otherwise, I will wrap up because I think we have one question. And in the chat, I've been checking the chat. I mean, many people have intervened saying we want to welcome more Ukrainian apprentices. So I encourage all those who intervened in this sense to make a pledge, a new pledge or an additional pledge to EAFA. So it gets on record, and thanking them in advance for these possibilities. I think there was a question on content by IRAL, the association, European Association for Regions and Long Life Learning, on how vet schools recognize prior education when welcoming Ukrainian. I don't know if the trainer in Germany or Anya in Lithuania can give any reply to this question.
Maybe I can start with the example in our country. So we have this recognition system that works not only for Ukrainian or other foreign people coming to Lithuania, but also to Lithuanians as well, that, for example, comes back from the emigration, as we have people who work in United Kingdom and in Scandinavia, in Germany also. So the system contains on the competence evaluation, and we have the whole system in place where we have a theoretical exam and also the practical exam that could be in the vet school, in sectorial training place, or in even the workplace with the employer. And therefore, if the person passes the theoretical test and also the practical test, the person could get the recognition of the competence, because the vet in Lithuania is modular vet, so we have modules of every qualification, and therefore it is easier for us to recognize because we evaluate the particular module.
Yes, I just want to add that we have these bilateral agreements with different countries about the recognitions of education and qualification at the different levels. So, of course, we have this procedure in Ukraine, and I'm sure that on the basis of these agreements, that's possible to recognize like qualifications obtained in Ukraine for European country, and to the opposite side, like for qualifications obtained in European countries, we can recognize in Ukraine. Yeah.
Good. Thanks a lot. Very useful replies. Maybe we have time for a second question very, very quickly, maybe for our ETF colleague, Anatoly. Karsten, he asks whether, I think we lost Anatoly. Okay, well, then I think we are getting to the end of our session, and maybe it's already time to wrap up. First of all, I would like to thank all our speakers, Irina, Anye, Anatoly, Elden, Sasha, Svitlana, for being here today, to take the time to participate in these busy times. Also, considering all what you are going through, Irina, Sasha, Svitlana. I think it was a very useful and engaging discussion. I think it must have inspired many companies and policymakers in EU countries, and help them understand how they can further support your community here in Europe for a better stay while you're here, and also to help you in your way when you will need to rebuild your country. We have learned a lot about the Ukrainian system, not only about what you are going through, but the system as a whole and your plans for the future. Also about the Lithuanian system, which is very interesting, and also the hurdles you are going through to attract more apprentices and people in vocational education and training. We have heard about the challenges that you are all going through at the different levels in Ukraine because of the relocation of business, the destruction or damage of the vet educational institutions, the massive migration. We have also heard about the struggles of the apprentices in terms of stress, of language barriers, cultural barriers. But we have also heard about a lot of solutions that are already ongoing or that you would like to suggest, the virtual apprenticeships, the distant learning for displaced people whenever it's possible, suggestions to provide further support, not only on languages and cultural support, but also on therapy treatments for stress, of course, and also the need for stakeholders to get engaged, to work together for the effective delivery of apprenticeships. And this is one of the pillars of what we are preaching in EAFA, of course. And also from our conversation, what I take is that micro-credentials are a tool that has a lot of potential now and in the future to bridge gaps, to cater for what the labor market needs, and to facilitate recognition as well, that targeted support and adapting programs work, that EU funds are helping in this way, and that this specific support for migrants beyond Ukrainian is also very helpful when they are here and willing to work, and also to cover the gaps that we have in terms of labor shortages. So a lot of good food for thought. We take good note of all your suggestions, and I encourage you to continue and keep up with the good work. And I encourage our EAFA members to make pledges and to offer more and better apprenticeships for Ukrainian. So thanks a lot, and stay tuned for the next EAFA activities. Bye-bye.